And now Virginians have a chance to not just give us our House majority back, but flip the Senate. And therefore, I will no longer have a group of progressive left senators that try to block us at every turn.
That was Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin on one of his many appearances, essentially daily, 3-5 times a day. He's on Fox now. There's a big election, folks, that is coming on November 7th in Virginia. I'm here with Democratic strategist Simon Rosenberg, also author of the Hopium Chronicles on Substack. Make sure everybody is subscribed to that. And of course, you remember Simon Rosenberg here on the MeidasTouch Network from all of our coverage leading into the midterms. Simon told us that there was not a red wave expected at that time. We had a very data-driven analysis here. And then, Simon, I think some of the large media networks took notice of the types of conversations you were having on social media, we were having with you here. And then they recognized that people like you and Tom Bonnier and others were nailing it and that the data was wrong. Welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. It's always good to see you guys.
So I want to talk about what Glenn Youngkin was saying there and what seems to be a multiple appearance run on Fox every single day. I mean, you talk about an in-kind contribution of an in-kind contribution of all of the appearances that they are giving him. It shows you what they think about Virginia, what he thinks about this Virginia election on November 7th. And when he says that he's going to stop the Democrats from blocking his agenda, what does that mean? What's at stake here on November 7th, Simon?
Well, the most important thing is that he's come out for a 15-week abortion ban, and that Virginia is the last southern state in the United States that doesn't have an abortion ban of some kind. And if they are successful next week, Virginia will have an abortion ban. He's also, one of his other major agenda items is to do things like eliminate or significantly curtail the early vote in ways that make it much harder for people to participate. All the things that you would expect, right? I mean, here, in neighboring Virginia, you've got this very reactionary legislature in North Carolina. We've seen a reactionary legislature in Wisconsin that have taken purple states and yanked them so far to the right. Something similar could happen in what is a blue state at the end of the day. And so this election is really important. And so far, the polling is pretty good for us. I would say I'm happy. The polling, our candidates are raising a lot of money, but the early vote is not where we need it to be. And so we've got work to do to have the election that we want to have next week.
So it's not just an off year. It's like an off year's off year, not a midterm, not a presidential, but you've got the legislature is up for grab right now. And so that tends to, in and of itself, reduce voter enthusiasm. But for those watching, can you just maybe even just break down what that means and which chambers are at stake, what the dynamic is?
Yeah, and first of all, let me just state that we've had a very good year as Democrats, right? I mean, we've been winning elections all across the country. That momentum that we had from our strong performance in 2022 is carried over into 2023. We flipped Jacksonville, Florida, Colorado Springs, two big Republican cities. We took away the Supreme Court seat in Wisconsin. We got to 57% in the Vote No ballot initiative in Ohio. And according to Daily Kos, if you look at 27 special elections that we've had all across the country, we're outperforming our 2020 numbers by 8 points, a remarkable performance. So one thing that just everybody should recognize, we've had a great year. We're closing the gap in Mississippi. Ohio, the polling is good. I mean, we're going to have a lot to celebrate next week, I think. In Virginia, though, you do have this very odd year. There's no statewide election. There's no governor, attorney general. There's no Congress. There's no Senate. There's no presidential. And there's only a handful of swing races. And so most of the voters in Virginia don't have a competitive race to be voting for. So there isn't the level of engagement that normally happens. And Virginia is around DC. Politics is in the news all the time. People are used to sort of seeing a lot of activity. But because of the weird nature of this race, you've got far less activity than normal. And a lot of Democrats just don't even know there's an election next week, which is why the kind of volunteer work that people do by making calls and texting from anywhere in the country can really make a big difference. And if you want to volunteer in the race, go to the DNC's website. They have the ability, they have all sorts of ways that you can, call and text. And tonight, even, it's Friday night, there's a texting and phone calling campaign with Kamala Harris and other luminaries to sort of get out the vote in Virginia. So DNC is making a major push. The easy place to go is just go to the DNC website, the Democratic Party's website. You also can volunteer for what's called the Majority Project, which is down the House and Senate campaigns in Virginia. And on my Substack, I have the 6 most important candidates that are the swing that will make the difference. And you can donate or volunteer directly on my Substack to those 6 particular candidates.
So all the Meidas Mighty who watch this, sometimes it's about 18 million people in 48 hours watching us on YouTube. You could absolutely be the difference. And you've asked me before, Ben, what can we do? We appreciate your videos. How can we be active and go out there and support our democracy? This is exactly how. Listen to what Simon Rosenberg just said. Now, Simon, this also has national implications as well. Virginia is basically a laboratory, if you will, for a version of the autocracy that basically puts the kind of Trumpism and MAGA in a Patagonia vest, if you will, and kind of changes the dynamic. This is the more palatable one that Rupert Murdoch and Fox is looking for. They're upset that Donald Trump goes and gives these speeches every day and attacks NATO overtly and praises Hezbollah overtly and attacks women and mocks the disabled and does all of those things overtly. They want the guy who wears the vest to do it. So they're using this election right with broader, deeper implications, huh?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you raised that, is that, to me, one of the reasons I'm working so hard in Virginia right now is 3 reasons. One is, for all the amazing wins we've had this year, given the way the national media works, if we stumble in Virginia, the only story about 2023 will be about Democrats stumbling, even though we've been winning everywhere else. Because you and I have been through this before, right, about how the national media gets spun by Republicans. And so, first of all, to have the kind of momentum that we all want to have going into 2024, it's critical that we win in Virginia next week. Second is, yes, Youngkin is the next up. He's the guy that they're prepping to either replace Trump if somehow magically Trump stumbles during this election, or to be the guy up in 2028 for the Republican Party. This is he becomes, if he wins next week, and particularly if he does very well in the early vote, and he's able to argue that I've cracked the code on the early vote and abortion and so on, he's going to become a very formidable figure in the Republican Party, either in 2024 or in 2028. And it's not something that we can allow. I mean, we've got to fight this with everything we got, frankly, and make sure that he's bloodied next week and he doesn't come out with a big victory. And then the third piece, which I mentioned, is that they're trying something tactically new, which is they are pushing the early vote. After running away from the early vote and vote by mail in the last several cycles, which was harmful to them, Youngkin has spent a lot of money and time trying out new tactics to get the Republican Party to compete more effectively in the early vote. And so far, it looks to be working. I mean, this is a major development in 2024, that whether we win or lose next week, the Republican Party is testing out a new and powerful tactic that is working for them. And so the stakes here are very high. We're not where we need to be on the early vote. And for anyone who does call or text or canvass, all you're doing is talking to Democrats. You're not talking to swing voters. We just need all these districts where we need to win. Biden won all of them. We just got to get Democrats to turn out next week.
Everybody, you've asked me before, how can we help? This is how you can help. On the one hand, you've got Fox, which is funded by billions and billions of dollars. They could write a $800 million defamation check like it's nothing. Unfortunately, we don't have those resources yet here on the MeidasTouch network, but we have the power of the people. So I'm asking you right now, if you are able to help, listen to what Simon Rosenberg's saying, volunteer with the DNC, Simon Hopium Chronicles. How do they find that?
Yeah, just search my name, Simon Rosenberg, and hopium, my favorite term, and you can find me on Substack. And there you can find a page that allows you to give or donate, or to volunteer directly to the 6 most important candidates if you want to go do that. Or you can volunteer by going to the Democratic Party, the DNC site that's running canvassing and phoning and texting. And Friday night, there is going to be an event with Kamala Harris and other Democratic luminaries, and that would be a wonderful thing for everybody to sign up for.
Sometimes these elections are decided by a few hundred votes,
It's
few
going to be
thousand votes.
Hundreds. It's going to be hundreds of votes. This one.
Think about what Simon's saying. It's going to be hundreds of votes. You know 100 people. I know you know 100 people. Everybody watching out there. There's 18 million of you every 48 hours who watch this. So please, just spread the word. Also, call people you know in Virginia. Tell family members. Post anywhere, any social media platform, anything you have. Text people. Do whatever you can. Now is the time to take action. Simon Rosenberg, we hope you will. We know you're going to come back. We hope you'll come back and talk to us again, not just about Virginia, but also about 2024, what the data is showing. We are a data-driven network, and you're a data-driven guy. So it's great to have you here, Simon.
Whenever you call, I'll come running, my friend. Thank you so much. And thank you for jumping in here. We need your help.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe. Help us get to that 2 million subscriber mark. And most importantly, make sure you help save Virginia. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Until next time.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.